So welcome back to part 2 of the Intelligent Weather app in Python, and in this video we will be creating the main function that will tell us whether we should go outside with an umbrella or whether we should have a jacket and so on. So let's go ahead and delete the print statement we had from the last video and get started with creating the next function, which is the getWeather function. And inside here you should type in city name and you'll be able to insert any city you desire. And we also need to provide the base URL for when we make the request, which is going to be https://api.openweathermap.org/data/2.5/forecast. So make sure you copy this correctly, otherwise your program will not work. But right below that, we're going to go ahead and create a payload where we can insert the queries that we want to make to this URL. So to do that, we'll just create a map, and the first thing has to be a queue, and that's going to correspond to the city name. Then we need to provide the app ID, which is just your API key. And finally, you want to choose whether you want your units to be metric or otherwise. And I don't know what the otherwise is, so I'm just going to pick metric because I believe metric is the only system the world should use. Then we have to go ahead and create the request, which is going to equal request.get, and that's going to take a URL, which is going to be our base URL, and also some parameters, which is going to be the payload. Then we want to create a data object, which is going to equal the request.json. Now let's go ahead and test out that this API works. So we're just going to type in return data. Then right below, we can go ahead and print get weather with whatever city you want. We can also type in Oslo, and we should end up with a JSON response. So as you can see, code was 200, which means it successfully made the request. It's going to give us the date and time and a lot of info for Oslo. And we're going to be using this, of course, to prepare ourselves for the outside world. So let's go ahead and delete the return statement and the print statement and continue with our program. So next we need to create 5 lists. One's going to be for the date, so date list. Next one's going to be for the time, so time list. Temp list for temperature. The condition list for the weather condition. And a rain list for how much rain there is. And that's just going to equal 5 empty lists. So we can just go like that and duplicate this 5 times. Below that, we need to actually extract the data that's provided in our API. So we're going to type in for item in data. At the index of list, we're going to go ahead and retrieve the timestamp first. So timestamp is going to equal the item at the index of dt, which is the date and time inside the JSON. Then we also want to retrieve the weather condition, which is going to equal the item at the index of weather, at the index of 0, and we want to take the description out of it, so at the index of description. And if you get confused about where I get this at any point of the video, just go ahead and print the data from the JSON, and you're going to find all of these keys, and what I'm doing here is just selecting them from the JSON. So next we have to get the temperature, which is going to equal the item at the index of main at the index of temperature. Now we have to also try to get the rain. And the thing is that if there's no rain, there will be no rain. Now getting the rain was a bit more tricky because if there is rain, it's going to have a rain key. Otherwise, if there's no rain, the API is not going to provide this field, which means if you try to get it, it will throw an exception. So what we had to do is create a rain value, which is going to be the item. It's going to take the rain for the 3-hour prediction. And in case this does not exist, that means there is no rain, which means we need to manually assign to rain the value of 0. So that's just a quick workaround because again, this will not be present in days that have no rain. So we need to show the program that days without rain is the same thing as having 0 rain. We can just type an exception here, why not? So next we have to go ahead and create a converted timestamp so we can actually get the date and time from it. And to do that, we'll type in datetime.datetime.from timestamp, and we will just insert the timestamp. Then we also want to get the time, which is going to be the converted timestamp .time. Under that, we will get the current date for each one of these weather reports, and that's going to equal the converted timestamp .date. Then right under the current date, we're going to go ahead and append all of these values to a list so we can put them inside a data frame. So what we have to do first is add to our data list the string of the current date. Then we want to go ahead and append to our time list the time. Under that, we will get the temperature list and append the temperature. Then below that, we'll get the condition list dot append the weather condition. And finally, the rain list is just going to append the rain. So that takes care of adding everything to lists. Now we actually want to convert that into a data frame. So I'm just going to create a value called raw data, and that's going to equal a map of date, which is going to take a date list, then the time, which will take a time list. And essentially, it's just going to take the lists that we have created. So do this for each one of the lists. For conditions, we can just type in conditions and add the condition list. And finally, the rain list will just be appended like that. Then we want to go ahead and create a data frame. So it's going to be pd.dataframe, and inside there, we will just insert this raw data. And let's go ahead and print this raw data. So print df. Now if we go ahead and call get weather, this time we can go ahead and insert New York, whatever. And actually both of these should not be inside the for loop. So go ahead and highlight that and just make sure it goes back one. So it's outside of this for loop. And now if we go ahead and click on run, you're going to notice we will get one data frame with all the information that we've asked it to give us. So it's going to tell us about the conditions, the amount of rain, the temperature, the time, and so on. But let's close this and continue with our program now that we see that everything's working nicely. So let's go ahead and delete this. And you might notice that raw data is highlighted and the program is absolutely right to warn us about that. So go ahead and highlight this and just take it out of the for loop as well. I did not mean to place it inside there. Now let's move on to the fun part, which is actually taking care of the rest. So we're going to create a variable called dates, and that's going to equal the remove duplicates. And we're going to insert the date list. So we only end up with single dates. Then we will type in for current date in dates. We want to create a new data frame, which is going to equal the data frame at the index of the data frame at the index of date. And we're going to type in dot string dot contains the current date. So now let's go ahead and print this because I know that was quite complex and quite difficult to understand. And actually I have to go here and type in get weather again. This time we'll type in Milano and we'll click on run. And let's actually get rid of the previous one as well. Now, if you go here, you're going to notice that because of that command, we were able to split the dates into different groups. So the 24th will be split into this group, the 25th will be split into this group, the 26th into this group, and so on. So that's all we did with this new data frame. We just split them into date groups. Let's actually just comment this out since we're using it so much. We can comment out this as well. We're just going to create a empty print statement to provide a extra space. And then we're going to go ahead and type in min temperature and max temperature. And the first one is going to equal the min of the new data frame at the temperature. And then similarly to that, we're just going to type in max of the new data frame at temperature as well. So that's going to assign the max and the minimum temperature for each day to each one of these values. Then we also want to calculate the total underscore rain. And we don't want to have a lot of decimals, so we're just going to round the sum of the new data frame dot rain, and we want to make sure that it is rounded to 2 decimal spots. So total rain is going to equal this, and I'm not sure why there are parentheses on the outside, so get rid of that. Anyway, it should look like that. All it does is round the sum of the rain, and it rounds it to 2 decimal places. Next, we want to go ahead and get the average weather, which is just going to tell us what the weather is mostly going to be like throughout the day. So that's going to equal the most frequent value that is found in the new data frame at conditions to list. And next, of course, I wanted to convert the date and time into something that we could actually read, like the day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for example. And to do that, we just have to type in t underscore date, and that's going to equal datetime dot datetime and strip time. I don't know what that is actually, but I call it strip time. And it's going to be the current date, and we need to provide the format that our date is provided in, which at the moment it's provided in % year, % month, and % day. Then we want to get the day of the week, which is just going to equal the calendar.dayname. And inside there, we just have to insert the t_dates and the weekday. And finally, we've made it to the point that we have to display this information. So inside here, we'll type in print, and this is going to be a formatted string. And the first thing we should insert is the t_date.day and the day of the week. Then we can go ahead and print another formatted string, double dash, and we're going to type in weather, or actually it doesn't matter if this is a formatted string. And inside here we will type in average weather. Then we're going to create a formatted string with rain, and that's going to take the total rain and add the millimeters at the end. And we're also going to add some parentheses around these, or it actually should be around the mm. Then we should go ahead and print a formatted string again, which will have a double dash, min temp, which is just going to take the min temperature. And I really don't know how to find this on my keyboard, so I went online and just took this Celsius symbol. And I'm going to put an arrow, which is going to point towards the maximum temperature. And here we're just going to insert the maximum temperature and the degree Celsius symbol. Then finally, we're going to type in print, double dash, and the preparation, which is going to take the min temperature and the total rain. And now finally, we can go ahead and see what we have to do depending on the weather that we've specified. So right now we are getting the weather for Milano, which means we can go ahead and click on run, and our program is going to tell us what we should wear depending on the weather. So as you can see, on Monday it is raining, so it's going to tell us to bring an umbrella, but it is quite warm, so we can go ahead and wear something casual. Otherwise, it's not really raining, so we can just wear something casual and have a nice day. And now let's go ahead and type something that's a bit more cold, such as Helsinki. So now if we go to the top, it's going to tell us to wear a light jacket because it is a bit more cold than in other countries. And as you can see, depending on the rain content, it's going to tell us to bring an umbrella or not to bring an umbrella. If there's 0 rain, we do not need to worry about the rain. And if there is more than, let's say, 5 millimeters, it's going to tell us to bring an umbrella. So at this point, your challenge is going to be to edit this preparation info to make it more accurate and to actually make it affect your own life instead of mine. But with that being said, guys, we've gone ahead and successfully created a whole intelligent weather app, which is the perfect backend for creating some nice application that is custom to a user's experience. And of course, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to look at them. Otherwise, with that being said, have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video.